Have you ever wondered how one finds faith amidst the chaos life throws at them? How does one overcome the hardships that seem insurmountable? Is there a beacon of light at the end of this seemingly endless tunnel of despair? These are questions I once asked myself, and today I share with you my journey of finding faith and overcoming hardships. My story begins in a household tainted by physical abuse and atheism. My father, the perpetrator of this harm, disappeared from our lives when my parents divorced, leaving my mother, my siblings, and me to pick up the pieces. At the tender age of 6, my mother introduced my stepfather into our lives, a man whose vices included heavy drinking and cannabis use. His mental violence towards my mother was a different kind of abuse, but abuse nonetheless, and it was during this time that my mother was introduced to alcohol. Fast forward to when I was 23. I found myself experimenting with cannabis, partying in nightclubs, and living a life that was far from what I would later come to value. When I turned 24, my world was rocked by the suicide of a close friend. This catapulted me into a multi-year depression and escalated my cannabis addiction. There were moments when I contemplated following in my friends' footsteps, but the grief I witnessed in their family kept me grounded in my darkest hours. At 33, in the throes of a cannabis-induced haze and grappling with my friend's death, I had an out-of-body experience. A bright light, an overpowering sense of love, and a wave of remorse overcame me. It was then that I acknowledged Jesus as Lord, though I was still wandering in the dark. A year later, my mother suffered 2 strokes, leading to her separation from my stepfather. I left my job to care for her, bringing me back to the place where it all began. At 35, I found myself back at my mother's house, jobless, without a wife or kids or a house to call my own. It was in this moment of profound loss that I found my faith. I was called a hypocrite, but I stood firm in my belief. I realized that I had never felt more blessed or grateful than when I fully surrendered to God. This journey was far from easy, but it led me to find my Savior, Jesus Christ. I share this story not to garner sympathy, but to inspire, to show that even in the most challenging circumstances, faith can be found, and hardships can be overcome. So if you find yourself asking the same questions I once did, remember my journey. Remember that even in the darkest of times, there is always a beacon of light. May God bless you all, and may you find the faith and strength to overcome whatever hardships you face.